Hello and welcome to Let's Play Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. Pretty excited to be doing this. It's a game I like a lot and always have. Wanted to do it for a long time, but never really found an emulator that I liked, at least for recording. We're going to hang on this screen just for a second because I love the intro and the music, but pretty soon we'll get started. So after Ganon was destroyed, Impa told Link a sleeping spell was cast on Princess Zelda. She will wake only with the power of the number 3 Triforce sealed in a palace in Hyrule. To break the seal, crystals must be placed in statues in 6 well-guarded palaces. Link set out on his most adventuresome quest yet. So, yeah, we're going to be doing this in somewhat of an interesting way in terms of how we do our leveling, but we'll get into that as we get started here. Game didn't realize I was on the screen. Alright, so we will register our name. And then we'll talk more about it as we get started. So this is one of the relatively small number of games in the entire Zelda series that is a direct sequel. Here we have sleeping Zelda in this palace. It's not 100% clear to me if this is supposed to be the same princess from the first game or not. We're going to start by going south. The way that description happened sort of made it seem like it was, but I think the official description is that, like, this is a princess who's been sleeping here for hundreds or thousands of years, and just all of the princesses get named Zelda. So actually the one we saved from the first one's a different than this Zelda. In this room here, we don't have a candle yet, so we can't see in the dark. If you look on the ground, you can just barely see the creatures kind of crawling along, but mostly you have to kind of just know where they are. I should just see forward. Alright, you may have heard kind of that tinkling sort of sound, and may have noticed that that enemy there didn't give us any experience points, whereas all the other ones did. And that's because every 6th enemy in this game will drop either a mana potion to restore your mana, or a key bag, a points bag, to give you bonus experience points. Most of the time, I'd rather get the experience, but that can change depending on the situation. We're going to come up here where there is a, not quite hidden, but slightly hidden experience point bag. This is going to be kind of a constant throughout the game, these little hidden nooks. I'm going to bypass this level for right now, and we'll see more why as we go on. Yeah, this game is much different than the others in the series. It is much more of a true RPG. It's often considered to be one of the hardest in the series, if not the hardest. We'll read this here. Welcome to Raru. You can talk to all these wandering townsfolk. Most of them don't have much to say. Sorry, I know nothing. People who are more likely to have something to say are the ones who either are stationary or who come out of houses. Let's see if she can help us with it. Return the crystal to the palace in Parappa Desert. So Parappa Desert is where we'll be going next. And yes, that is the entire point of the game, so I suppose it's worthwhile for her to tell us that. If all else fails, use fire. There's very little reason to actually do that, and that's something that doesn't come up for quite a while, but nice of him to let us know, I guess. Please let me help you. Come inside. So there's, in every town, going to be a woman in red, who, if you go inside, will restore your health or life. And in every town other than this one, there is an old woman in orange who will do the same for our mana. Only the hammer can destroy a roadblock. Hammer is something that we'll get in a little bit. but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Hello, young fellow. She also has nothing useful to say. This person probably has nothing useful to say. Oh, find the heart in southern Parappa. Oh, alright, good. Find a heart in southern Parappa. This woman in purple came out of this house here. Talk with my father before you leave town. This is the main reason to come to this town. It's really the only thing we actually have to do here. Technically, we don't have to do it. Now, let's see what she says now. She's going to give us a little more information. Each town has a wise man. Learn from him. And that we will. So yes, in addition to each town having someone to heal you and restore your magic, every town is going to have someone who will teach you a new spell. In Parappa Desert, use this magic to survive. He rewards us with the shield spell. Everyone other than this guy will require us to do some kind of relatively minor task. Generally kind of little fetch quests, although there's some variability in that. There's also a lot of variability in exactly how difficult it is, but we'll see what that's about later. Let's see what this little kid says. Get a candle in Parappa Palace. Good luck. So yeah, it's another item that we technically don't need to get, but it certainly makes the game easier. We'll go up through here, and again, we have a room we can't see in, but the first couple of sections are safe. And then here we have another... Ooh! We're going to bypass that as well. I'm going to put most of my focus early on into getting attack levels. Not surprisingly, attack levels increase your strength and allow you to kill enemies faster, which for me tends to be the most effective way to avoid damage. Your magic and life ability. For magic, it's... you know what, let's give this a shot. I never managed to get it to work, but there are kind of some predetermined locations in the game where there's no visual cue, but where you have encounters that happen automatically. But if you time things really, really well, you can sometimes bypass them by having those kind of, I don't know what you call them, enemy shadows show up on the right location, and if you walk into them as you're stepping onto those squares, you can bypass it. It's not always worth the effort. Kind of like it to do for this one, because this is what should be a very, very easy section, in reality is, but platforming in this game is very difficult. You can die very easily, and so those little bubbles, which really aren't all that difficult to deal with, if you do happen to get nicked by one, will almost always send you to your death immediately, which can be frustrating. Alright, so we have a heart container there, which was poorly done, which we will be getting. But first we have to take care of this Garaya. Very good. Alright, so we got our first magic container and our first life container. So, like I started to say before, when you get a new magic level, that decreases the amount of mana points that each spell costs. And it varies depending on the spell and your level. Whereas your actual total volume of mana goes up each time you collect a new magic container, which is what we got in that cave just south of the initial palace. Similarly, every time your life level goes up, it kind of increases your defense, so you take less damage every time you get hit. And the overall amount of health you have goes up every time you get a heart container. Reasonably simple. So here we have our first palace in Parappa Desert. Pretty easy and straightforward. Fairly well designed, I think, for an opening level. I can't remember what these guys are called, but they're a fairly annoying enemy, specifically because they get you literally 0 experience points. And they're just kind of all throughout that whole initial area. And if they do hit you, they steal 10 experience points from you, which is frustrating for an enemy that doesn't actually do any good for you. These are Stalfos, and there we have our first attack level. attack is now significantly stronger. At any point in time, we could increase our life and or magic, and we may, depending on the situation at the time. If I'm not doing well and getting hit more often than I really should, then I may end up having to do that, but hopefully I don't do too badly. And I probably should map things out a little better in terms of when we're getting experience to prevent us from having to kind of backtrack or do any kind of grinding or anything like that. Hopefully I will, but we'll see how it goes ultimately. We collected that key there, and keys to open doors, with one notable exception that we won't get to for a while. Those kind of flaming skull enemies are normally not all that problematic, but they can be at times. They don't do a huge amount of damage, but they will steal some of your magic. And they also, what did I want to say? They take a lot of damage, a lot of hits to kill, which isn't really that much of a problem because they're very easy to hit, because they follow very, very distinct patterns, but it just isn't worth it. Oh, I thought it was far enough over. It just isn't worth it, at least for me, until at least like an attack level 4, which still takes a little while, but it's not all that bad. So when we get to this elevator, we're going to go up. There we go. Yeah, I usually don't bother until we get to an attack level 4. You want to make sure you don't hesitate on these stairs, because otherwise you kind of get trapped by this guy coming down. There's a key here, but we want to keep going. And I'm actually going to use our shield spell over here, which hopefully we won't need, but... Oh, that was unfortunate. Yeah, hopefully we don't actually need, because it shouldn't really be an issue, but we are going to get a refill on our magic, so you might as well. This guy, he's referred to as a hammer bro. I'm going to have to double up on the actual names, but really just want to time things well and wait for a little hitch. So you see he throws a high one and he'll take sort of a rest there. But once you get inside his throws, he's generally very easy. We will again bypass that. And, oops. There we go. Get this key, and if we strike this statue, then we get a refill on our magic, so might as well. Which is, again, why I use shield on this screen, just in case we do get hit by one of those hammers, even though it's not all that necessary. Sometimes you get kind of caught up in this little window here, where these guys are just barely flashing, so you're kind of chasing behind them, which gets annoying, but not that bad. Now, in reality, what we should do is go left here and collect the item from this dungeon, just for the sake of exploring. I'm going to go down here for right now, even though this isn't ultimately where we want to go just yet. So this here is an iron knuckle. They come in... Oh, that's disappointing. Now I really wish I hadn't come down here. They come in 3 different types based on the color, and orange is the easiest, but that tends to be, for me, the easiest way to deal with them, where you do this kind of jump attack, and essentially what happens is, as you're coming down, they'll sort of lower their shield, and you can get a hit in. We'll cast shield on this screen. There are 2 enemies here that we want to make sure we don't get too hurt by. You want to be careful opening that door, because he can wander into you as you're opening it and do damage while there's that slight delay of the door opening. Alright, and then we should have one more iron knuckle. Oops. Now if you mistime it, I generally just back up and kind of reset myself. Once the pattern gets broken, I find it messes me up. You don't really have to fight it like this. You could just kind of constantly attack and keep a close eye on where their sword is, because it's more important to defend against them than to attack them. If we were to go forward here, we would get to the end of the dungeon. But we're actually not going to do that right now. And I will save explaining why until we finally do it. Just on the off chance that someone doesn't already know. But I promise it will make sense later. You don't have to do it by any means, but it is a thing you can do, and it kind of makes things a little bit easier at times. Now, just because I won't need this later, I'll grab this fairy here, which fairies refill all of your life, which is always appreciated. And hopefully I won't mess up these guys. Get hit again by someone who never should have hit me in the first place, but I was being careless. This next room is one of the most annoying in the game. It's not actually all that difficult. You're going to survive generally, but just this early on in the game it gets very annoying. Where it's just a bunch of these flaming skulls. And it's kind of interesting, though, the way you can manipulate them, where if you catch them right at the edge of the screen, they kind of get caught there, so you can direct where you want them to go. I'm going to try to do that, and we're going to see how it goes. It's not always all that easy, but give it a shot. And then once they leave the screen, they're gone. And then we have this one, which is going a lot faster than the others, and he is the one that really tends to cause difficulties. Yeah. Sometimes I do this very well, and get through unscathed, and sometimes I do absolutely terribly and get hit like 47 times. That was an okay time, although I prefer not to get hit at all. These guys are bots, and then the red ones are called bits. I don't know why they have different names, whereas, oh, that's embarrassing. Oh, that's not safe. Almost nothing else in the game works that way in terms of getting a second name. There's a P-bag here that, it's okay to let that fall, it'll still be there, you can just go try again. Cast shield in here. Similar to before, so you want to just go straight through there. As long as you don't hesitate, you'll get right inside. And then just watch for him going back and forth, but don't let him go too far backwards, because we don't want to fight two enemies at once. Yeah, the easiest way I find to get that P-bag, I'll show it later, is kind of this jump, and then you land by hitting like this. It just saves a little time and makes it a lot less likely for you to fall. We have one more iron knuckle here. Should just be one more. There we go. Oh, that is disappointing. Alright, but we did get our candle here, which is nice. Now we will be able to see in those dark rooms. I forget, because I always do get the candle, but I think in some of the later areas where theoretically you would think you need the candle, the game just like assumes that you're going to have it, so it you might not need it anymore. I'm not too sure about that though. I'm just going to go back through again. I do like to get that. It's really not worth the amount of effort I'm putting in, but just to make sure I don't do anything annoying later. There we go. I'm actually usually very good about this. It's pretty rare that I have to get even a second shot at it, let alone a third. That was just bad. But that's fine. So now we're very close to our next attack level, which is nice. I haven't really been talking about that much at all, which I should have explained more. So, yeah, at any given time, you can get to enough experience points to get to the next level, but everything is not together. You level up specific traits, and each one costs a different amount of experience points, and that number increases as you go up each new level. Let's turn that guy around. And it gets quite expensive later on, but initially the values are pretty low and not that problematic. Okay, we're almost out of here. We just gotta make sure we don't get lazy and wander into any of these guys. I also like to go slow there to make sure that this guy is, the flaming skull is not causing us problems. Hopefully we be able to heal up soon and get rid of this annoying beeping. But yeah, you can at any time choose to skip a level and not collect it, so that you can save those experience points and get something more expensive later. It's not always the case that that's what you want to do, but particularly at the beginning of the game, it's what I like. Because I do really like to get the attack up. With that said, however, we're going to get through this room here, and then I think we'll probably end things right around there. Maybe I'll go up to the next town and just get there, and then we'll end this video. But yes, I like to get my attack up first, and somewhat early on I like to do at least one health and magic level, but I like to try and save it and hopefully get it at a time when I am in a dungeon and can actually utilize the bonus of refilling my health or magic. However, I think we will just read the mailbox here and see that we are in the town of Ruto, and we'll end things here. When we come back, we'll explore this town and go further on into the world and see what else Hyrule has to offer. But till then, see ya!